Every night for 50 years, something came to his cell, something the other friars could hear, echoing through the thick stone walls of the monastery. They would lie awake in their beds, holding their breath. They would hear the crashing, the sounds of a man being thrown against the hard stone floor, the unmistakable weight of something ancient and violent moving through a room. They would tremble in the darkness. But when they could bear it no longer, when they ran to his door and threw it open, holding their lanterns up to the dark, they would find him alone, bruised, exhausted, completely alone, and praying, always praying. If you are lying in the dark tonight, if your mind is still moving when your body has stopped, if the silence feels heavy, if the thoughts are circling and will not land, you are not alone. There was a man who knew the night the way you know it, not as a metaphor, not as a spiritual concept, in his body, on a stone floor, in the dark. And what he found inside the darkest nights of his life is what tonight is for. Take a deep breath, draw the air in slowly, hold it for just a moment, and let it go. You are safe here, you are completely secure. Let the tension in your shoulders melt away. Let your hands rest open. Close your eyes and listen. The year is 1918. We are going to the mountains. Imagine the mountain first. The Gargano Peninsula, a spur of limestone jutting into the Adriatic on the eastern coast of Italy, rising sharply from the flat plain below, its peaks covered in dark oak forest, its valleys cut by cold rivers that run fast and clear even in the summer. This is ancient land. Pilgrims have climbed these mountains for 1,000 years. The stone itself seems to hold something, a quality of silence that is not merely the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper. High above the town of San Giovanni Rotondo, clinging to the mountainside, stands the small friary of Our Lady of Grace. Walk through its gate. The floors beneath your feet are made of cold, uneven stone, worn smooth by centuries of leather sandals and kneeling friars. The walls are thick, built to withstand the mountain winters, which arrive in October and do not leave until April. The corridors are narrow and dim. The air moves through them slowly, carrying a particular mixture of smells that belongs to this place and no other. Old polished wood, the faint smoke of incense that lingers long after the morning mass has ended, the dry dust of theological books stacked in corridors no one visits, the clean sharpness of cold stone, and something else, something that visitors to this friary noticed and could not explain, a fragrance, faint, inexplicable, roses, some said, violets, others. A sweetness they could not locate or name. It came from a man. His name was Francesco Forgione. He was born in 1887 in the small village of Pietrelcina in the hill country south of Benevento. His father was a farmer, a decent, hard-working man who travelled twice to America to earn the money that would pay for his son's formation. His mother was a woman of deep, daily, unperforming prayer, the kind of prayer that does not distinguish between the kitchen and the chapel. Francesco was the third of 8 children. He was thin, often ill, and from very early, from the time he could articulate it at all, he spoke about things that his family did not speak about. Visions at 5 years old, a vow at 7. He gave himself to God at 7 years old, with the simple, absolute certainty of a child who has recognized something and does not yet know the word for doubt. He entered the Capuchin order at 15. He was ordained a priest in 1910. In September of 1916, he was assigned to this friary, this small, remote, cold, beautiful place above San Giovanni Rotondo. He came up the mountain road for the first time. He looked at the white walls and the dark rooftops and the stone gate. He walked through it. He would never leave. For 52 years, Padre Pio lived in this friary, in these stone corridors, under this particular quality of mountain light. He would become one of the most sought-after confessors in the history of the Catholic Church, a man to whom 5 million people would eventually bring the particular darkness of their own lives through that wooden grate, one at a time. But all of that came after the nights, and the nights came first. On September 20th, 1918, Padre Pio knelt alone in the chapel after the morning Mass. What happened next is documented in his own handwriting, in a letter dated October 22nd, 1918, written to his spiritual director, Father Benedetto. It was not written for publication. It was written because Padre Pio did not know what to do with what was happening to him, and he needed a witness. He wrote, "I was suddenly filled with great peace and abandonment, which effaced everything else. And then I saw before me a mysterious person, his hands, his feet, his side, dripping blood. This sight terrified me. I thought I should die. I became aware that my hands, feet, and side were dripping blood. And then, in the same letter, with the plainness of a man trying to tell the truth about something almost too large to put into words, I am dying of pain because of the wounds. I am afraid I shall bleed to death if the Lord does not hear my heartfelt supplication to relieve me of this condition." He was not delivered from the condition. He carried those wounds for 50 years. The stigmata. Every step he took down those stone corridors from that day forward was pain. Every movement of his hands to bless, to hold the chalice, to give absolution, pain. Every hour in the confessional, which could stretch to 16 hours in a single day, pain and exhaustion, and the additional weight of carrying the interior burdens of thousands of souls who came to him carrying things they had told no one else. He poured himself out entirely, every day, until there was nothing left. And when the sun finally set behind the jagged mountain peaks, plunging the valley into darkness, and the great silence fell over the friary, he would climb the stairs to his cell number 5, and lower himself onto his narrow bed and close his eyes. But the darkness in that cell was not empty. Something waited for him there. The other friars knew it. They lay awake down the corridor, listening. They found him in the mornings bruised, his clothes sometimes disordered, his face carrying the particular pallor of a man who has not slept. The documents are careful and specific. This was not rumor or legend. It was observed and recorded. Padre Pio wrote about it to Father Benedetto with the matter-of-fact precision of a man reporting weather conditions. He wrote, "The ogre won't admit defeat." He gave the devil nicknames. The ogre, Bluebeard, the wretch, the scoundrel. He used these names not out of disrespect for the danger. He was clear that the danger was real, but out of a contempt that was itself theological. The enemy was fierce and ancient and overwhelmingly strong, and the enemy was already defeated. The cross had done it. Whatever happened in cell number 5, whatever struck him there, it was the action of a chained thing. It could reach only so far. He knew this, and the knowing was itself a kind of armor, because the enemy, finding that the crude attacks would not break him, changed tactics. Padre Pio documented this too, carefully, precisely, because he needed his director to understand what was happening. The cell would go quiet, the chaos would cease, and in the silence a light would appear, a beautiful light, a radiant figure. Sometimes it appeared in the form of his spiritual director, sometimes in the form of a bishop, sometimes as an angel of extraordinary luminosity, and sometimes, and this is the part that required the most from him, it appeared in the form of the Blessed Virgin Mary herself, or of the crucified Christ. These radiant figures spoke words that sounded holy, but the words were not holy. They told him his suffering was useless, his sins too dark for forgiveness, his soul already lost. They commanded him, in tones of perfect piety, to destroy his letters, to isolate himself from his directors, to trust only the voice speaking now. This is the oldest trap in the history of spiritual warfare, to dress evil in the clothing of light, to use our own desire for holiness against us. How did he know? He learned through prayer, through the guidance of his directors, through the classical teaching of the Church. A test, simple, infallible, and available to every soul, not only the mystic. He wrote it down. The words are preserved. This is what he said: "The Spirit of God is a spirit of peace, and also in the case of grave sin, it makes us feel tranquil sorrow, humble, confident, and this is due precisely to his mercy. The spirit of the demon, on the contrary, excites, exasperates. If certain thoughts agitate you, this agitation never comes from God, who gives tranquility, being the spirit of peace. Such agitation comes from the devil." Let that settle for a moment. Read it again in your mind. If certain thoughts agitate you, this agitation never comes from God. Never. The thoughts that are pressing on you right now, the urgent ones, the heavy ones, the ones that will not settle and tell you there is no time and everything is already lost. Notice the quality they carry. The agitation, the exasperation, the weight, not from God. He said so plainly, God gives tranquility. God is the spirit of peace. The devil shouts, God whispers. Padre Pio would wait. He would look at the radiant figure in the center of cell number 5, and he would command it, in the name of Jesus, to speak that name with reverence. The things that wore beauty like a costume could not do it. They would collapse, they would flee, they would leave behind only a faint smell and a silence that was clean. And Padre Pio would be alone in the dark again, exhausted, his rosary already in his wounded hands, already praying. There is something here for you tonight. The thoughts that come in the dark, the urgent ones, the heavy ones, the ones that press and push and tell you that everything is already lost and there is no time. Notice the quality they carry, the pushing, the panic underneath the urgency, the weight. That is how you know what they are and what authority they do not have. You can say to them quietly, in whatever language comes naturally, "You do not live here," and then turn your attention, gently, without effort, toward the stillness beneath them. It is already there. It has always been there. Deeper than the thoughts, quieter than the noise. The place from which Padre Pio prayed. After the battle, always the tenderness. His biographers record something he told his spiritual director, quietly, without drama, in the same matter-of-fact voice with which he reported everything else about those nights. He said that Jesus loved him, and that after the worst of it, when he was on the floor, too exhausted to rise, Jesus would lift him, gently, and place him back on the bed. Let that image form in your mind. The cell is dark. Padre Pio is on the floor, exhausted past the body, past the muscles, past what words describe accurately. His wounds are open. He has nothing left. He cannot lift himself. And then someone comes into the room, not loudly, not with ceremony. The creator of the visible and invisible world enters a small stone room on a mountain in Italy, bends down over a bleeding, exhausted friar who cannot rise, and lifts him gently, like a father lifting a sleeping child from the floor, and places him on the narrow bed. That is the God of Padre Pio. Not a God observed from an infinite distance, a God who enters the particular dark of a particular room for a particular person and does the small, specific, necessary thing. The same God is in this room with you now, not approximately, not as a comforting idea, with the same precision of attention with which he entered cell number 5. The devil may strike the outside. He has never been able to touch the inside. The inside, the place where the self truly lives, belongs to someone else, and the ownership is not in question tonight. You know what it is to feel the weight of the night pressing against your chest. You know what it is to lie in the dark with thoughts that will not settle. Padre Pio knew this too, in his body, in his bones, for 50 years. And what he found beneath it, always beneath it, lower than the chaos could reach, was the hands of the one who had never left. Those hands are beneath you now. Let your jaw unclench, let it go, let your shoulders fall, let the mattress receive them, let your hands rest open at your sides. Open hands, the posture of the one who has stopped gripping and is ready to receive. Your guardian angel is standing watch in this room. Padre Pio spoke of his own angel with the ease and familiarity of someone who has shared a long road with a trusted companion. He sent his angel to help others across the world when he could not go himself. He expected results. He received them. Your angel was assigned to you before you were born, not temporarily, not conditionally. And so every wound, every sleepless night, every hour on the cold floor was gathered up and placed on the altar. None of it fell to the ground. He offered his suffering especially for the souls in purgatory, for those who had died in grace but were not yet ready for the direct vision of God. He prayed for them by name. He offered his daily Mass for them. He told his spiritual children, again and again, that the exchange between the living and the holy souls was one of the most beautiful and most overlooked realities of faith. He would say, "We cannot believe how much they can do for us through the gratitude they have for those who pray for them." If you are still awake right now, if the mind is still turning, if the body is tired but something in you will not yet let go, hear this. Your wakefulness tonight is not a failure. You can give it, quietly, without drama, simply the interior movement of the will. Lord, I cannot sleep. I offer this to you. Let it be of use. In that moment, that single, quiet, barely spoken moment, the darkness changes. It is no longer something happening to you. It becomes something you are giving, and the giving changes the quality of the night entirely. The enemy cannot understand sacrifice. He cannot comprehend the logic of love that turns suffering into gift. It is a language he does not speak, and the moment you speak it, even imperfectly, even in the dark, even without feeling, he loses his grip on the night. Padre Pio spent 50 years doing exactly this. He turned every hard night into bread for hungry souls. You can do the same, in miniature, but genuinely. Now the words he gave the world, 5 words, said to thousands of frightened people, one at a time, through the wooden grate. Words that have been spoken in 100 languages for 100 years. He said, pray, hope, and don't worry. He wrote it plainly in his letters. Worry is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayer. Worrying changes nothing about tomorrow. It only takes today. He is listening now, to the prayer you are too tired to form, to the sigh between your breaths, to the silence that is itself a kind of asking. He hears all of it. Pray, hope, don't worry. The demons have no power over a soul that places its trust in God. None. The ogre is a chained dog. He is loud. He is ugly. He can bark in the dark. But his chain only reaches so far, and you are far beyond it. Stay here. Stay resting in the arms of grace. The story is finished. Outside, the Gargano Mountains are dark. The Adriatic catches what little light remains and holds it for a moment before the night takes everything. The friary of Our Lady of Grace is still. The stone corridors are empty. The chapel below is quiet, and you are here, in your room, in your darkness, the day finally and completely releasing its hold. Let the 7 movements of Padre Pio's life settle into you now, slowly, without effort, the way sediment settles in deep and undisturbed water. The child in Pietrelcina, at 7 years old, making a vow in the simple, absolute language of a child who has recognized something and does not yet know the word for doubt, who teaches you that the cord is already there. The deepest question of your life has a direction. You do not have to resolve it tonight. You only have to let it rest beside you in the dark, like an old companion who has been patient while you were busy. The young friar climbing the mountain road to San Giovanni Rotondo for the first time, looking up at the white walls of the friary appearing above the tree line, who teaches you that arrival is possible, that the road leads somewhere, that the weariness of the climb does not mean the destination is unreachable. You are closer tonight than you were this morning. The confessor behind the wooden grate, receiving the particular darkness of 5 million souls, one at a time, through 50 years of cold mornings and exhausted afternoons, who teaches you that you are known, not approximately, not in general, in the full, specific, complicated, beautiful particularity of exactly who you are, known and not refused. The man in cell number 5, awake in the dark, rosary in his wounded hands, his lips already moving, who teaches you that the night can be inhabited rather than endured, that the interior of the dark is not the same as the exterior, that what surrounds you does not determine what is inside you. The man who gave the devil nicknames, who tested the radiant figures with the name above all names, who watched them collapse and flee every time without exception, who teaches you that the thoughts pressing in tonight do not have the authority they are claiming. You can say to them, "You do not live here," and the saying is enough. The man who offered his sleepless nights for the souls who were waiting, who turned every hard hour into a gift freely given, who teaches you that nothing tonight is wasted, not the wakefulness, not the worry, not the slow minutes that will not pass. All of it can be gathered and given, all of it can become bread. And the man on his last morning, September 23rd, 1968, the wounds finally and completely closed for the first time in 50 years, the skin smooth as if the wounds had never been, his face in the chapel carrying something the witnesses could not name, a transparency, someone said, as if the light was coming through rather than from, who teaches you that the road ends somewhere real, that what waits at the end is not straw, it is the wheat, the bread, the nourishment for which all the hunger, all the restlessness, all the long nights were the preparation. You are on the road, the same road, walking toward the same thing. The night is quiet now, the friary is at rest, cell number 5 is still, Padre Pio rests, and you can rest too. May the Lord bless you and keep you, may his face shine upon you, and be gracious to you. May he look upon you with kindness, and give you his peace. You are safe, you are held, the cord is there, the angel is watching, the night is inhabited, only grace remains, only peace, only rest. Pray, hope, and do not worry.